Frederick Douglass, Freedom's Voice. Essential question: what can people do to bring about a positive change? Read about what Frederick Douglass did to bring about positive change for African Americans. Growing up with slavery. When Frederick Douglass was growing up in Maryland, he never could have imagined that he would become a great civil rights leader. Born Frederick Bailey, he was enslaved, or living in slavery, until the age of 20. Frederick's life was difficult. He never knew his father and was separated from his mother at a young age. If he dared to defy his master in any way, he was punished. One of the few bright spots of his youth was being taught to read by the wife of a slaveholder. Perhaps it was his love of words, along with his courage, that inspired Frederick to reach for the kind of life he was entitled to have. A life-changing speech. In 1838, Frederick sought his freedom by escaping to the North. In New York City, he married Anna Murray. Then he and Anna moved to New Bedford, Massachusetts. In New Bedford, Frederick changed his last name to Douglass to protect himself against slave catchers. That was just the first of many changes. He also discovered a group of people, abolitionists, who shared his hope of ending slavery. He had read about the abolition movement in William Lloyd Garrison's newspaper, The Liberator. Frederick devoured every issue because the ideas inspired him so much. Soon he began speaking against slavery at the church meetings he attended. Caption: this etching depicts a slave auction, a common event of the time. New opportunities. In 1841, the Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society held a meeting in Nantucket. Frederick was eager to hear the abolitionist speakers and traveled to the meeting with anticipation. However, when he arrived, something totally unexpected happened. An abolitionist who had heard Frederick speak at a church meeting asked him to speak to this large gathering. Frederick went to the front of the meeting hall, trembling with fright. At first, he spoke quietly and hesitantly. He felt anxious standing in front of so many people, especially white people. However, once he got started, his fear evaporated. He spoke from his heart, describing the horrors of slavery. Frederick was a stirring speaker, articulate and outspoken. At the end of his speech, the audience's reaction was spontaneous. Suddenly, everyone stood up and cheered. Among those cheering was none other than William Lloyd Garrison. After the meeting, Garrison congratulated Frederick and offered him a job as a speaker for the society. Frederick agreed and was hired as a full-time lecturer. He felt he had found a purpose for his life. Frederick traveled through New England and the Midwest, giving passionate speeches that captivated audiences. It was impossible to listen to his powerful words and remain neutral. Frederick had a commanding presence and spoke with eloquence and dignity. He was making a name for himself. Making his mark. In addition to giving speeches, Frederick had time reserved for his writing. In 1845, he wrote an autobiography, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave. The book became a huge success, making him even more famous. In his autobiography, Frederick revealed that he was a fugitive. For his safety, friends suggested that he go on a speaking tour in Great Britain. Frederick was very popular there, and people lined up to hear him speak. In 1847, Frederick returned to the United States. By now, he had a family and missed them terribly. Upon his return, they moved to Rochester, New York, where Frederick started his own abolitionist newspaper. It published articles not only about the anti-slavery cause, but also about the unequal status of women. Frederick also worked tirelessly to end segregation in Rochester's schools. Douglass's autobiography helped advance abolition. The North Star was the newspaper published by Frederick Douglass and his wife.